like it's going to be a beautiful September day.
912 ambulance, 75-year-old.
I have a situation with American 11, a possible hijack.
American 11, are you trying to call?
We might have a hijack over here.
The tower has been evacuated or evacuating the facility at this time. We're receiving a report of a second aircraft.
I got an aircraft 6 miles east of the White House. Pentagon just got hit.
Everything just started to rumble and rumble.
People in the room screamed and thought that the windows were going to blow out.
Yeah, stop all departures.
We just kept running.
Then I got the second call, confirming that Ed was on Flight 93.
Negative contact, we're looking at United 93.
I just can't believe that this is happening.
Out here in rural Pennsylvania, and the horror of the day was laid at their doorstep.
United 93, have you got information on that yet?
Yeah, he's down.
When did he land?
He did not land.
You think about all the people who didn't make it out of that building.
All of a sudden, you're thrust into the moment. Eventually, everybody in America was kind of thrust into that same moment, too.
It was going to define who we wanted to be as a nation.
Tuesday, 9:47.
Hi, baby. Want to tell you I love you. Please tell me.
That's been hijacked. I just totally love you.
I hope to be able to see your face again, baby.
I spoke to my husband about 8 a.m. going into the building and my boys telling them that I'd see them when I got back from New York that evening. It was exciting, of course, because I'd never been to the World Trade Center. And it was gorgeous structure. It was just beautiful. My husband said, "Oh, before you go, whatever you do, go up to the top of the towers." That phrase haunted my husband all day. Because had I gone, I wouldn't be sitting here today able to talk to you today. The building shook. The building shook, and you heard a loud noise, and the building was shaking. And you looked out the window, and you saw pieces of glass, pieces of metal, pieces of paper coming down. And the cell phone's reception was not worth anything, and the gentleman's pager went off. And he started yelling, "A plane hit the building, a plane hit the building."
It was a normal morning. Had to be at the Pentagon that day. Unfortunately, I left my cell phone in the car, so cell phones weren't, part of your body in 2001. So once I got there, first thing I did was called Kathy after that and said, "Hey, you better turn on the TV and see what's going on." And we both actually started thinking about DC, but she mentioned it first over the phone. She said, how did you say it?
I wonder how long it will be before something like this happens here.
Yeah, and I kind of shook my head and I said, I don't know. And then about 5 seconds later, the plane hit the building. The room shook. We could feel a change in pressure. People in the room screamed and thought that the windows were going to blow out because they were shaking so much. Kathy actually, because I was still holding the phone,
I heard it.
Could hear the plane over the phone impact the building. I went, "I'm okay, I gotta go." I mean, that was all I said to her.
I didn't know exactly how close he really was to it. And I didn't know if the plane was going to explode more. I had no idea.
And so I kind of left her hanging. That was one of the things that I felt the worst about on that day was I didn't say, I think it's far enough away that it wasn't a problem. I didn't give her any reassurance that I was, going to be okay. I was just okay at that time.
And so I started to worry that you didn't get out of the building. And then I just didn't know.
Yeah.
Obviously, they knew that the building was going to come down. They just wanted us to get the hell away from it before it did. And he says, when we get to the top of the ramp, I'm going to throw open this door, and I want you to run, and I want you to run for your lives. And the building fell. That cloud was so thick, it wiped out all the noise. Everything was totally silent. All I kept thinking is, oh my God, I died. And I was crying, and I heard this voice, I heard a woman's voice, put out your hand, put it out. And I reached out, and I didn't know what I was even reaching for. And I reached out, and I felt another hand around me, and I just held on, and we ran. Phone started working again. And I finally was able to get my husband. He says, he says, all I kept thinking is, I told you to go to the top of that building. He says, I didn't think there would be pieces of you left to bury, let alone anything else. And I started getting phone calls from people I worked with. And it's like, oh my God, we thought you were dead. It made you feel good. You believed in humanity, that they're there. The people do care, the people you always thought did care.
Pick up my cell phone. First time I attempt to make a call, it goes through to Kathy, and we talked for about 20 minutes.
I was elated to hear his voice, and it's what I wanted that whole time, but yet I also felt guilty for feeling that way because I knew that there were going to be, I didn't know at the time how many, but a lot of other people that would not be hearing their their loved one's voice.
From Station 300, Station, command your station, aircraft down, Somerset County.
I got 2 phone calls that morning from Sandy, his wife. We knew Ed was traveling on September 11th. We didn't know his flight arrangements by any means. Ed was a very modest man. Ed wasn't one that would want to take credit for anything, but he was the man behind the scenes that was solving problems and getting the job done. I mean, he's been an inspiration for me, all of these years. Ed made a 911 call to emergency services, made contact. I called his cell phone to leave a message, knowing that he was most likely still in the air, and said, look, Ed, call, we're concerned, we want to hear that you're safe. Then I got the second call, confirming that Ed was on Flight 93, that the plane had come down in Pennsylvania, there were no survivors. She was trying to get more information out of United Airlines, but that's all that she knew at that point. Those 40 people, under stress that I can't imagine, many of us can't imagine. We're able to get information from the ground, formulate a plan, vote on a plan, and then take action, doing what they could do to fight back. It became very clear that this was a story that wasn't just personal, it was a story that we were going to share with our country and with the world.
I think about 9/11 every so often. I mean, you can't help it because I still work at the Pentagon. You know, the unique connection that I have with this is with my family, with Kathy. She experienced the attack with me over the phone.
You know, you're like you're saying, you're seeing something that goes on in New York, and you're feeling emotions, but it's far away from you.
All of a sudden, you're thrust into the moment with everybody else in New York, and eventually everybody in America was kind of thrust into that same moment too.
I always found that I had a choice to make. I could either have gone to a very dark place after September 11th, or I could and chose to be motivated by the story of September 11th, because I know that's what my brother would have wanted. There's something about our sacred ground here, and in New York, and in Washington certainly, that gives one a sense of peace almost, and I can't even explain it. You get chills as you look out at that sacred ground.
I started volunteering up at the Flight 93 site. It gives me peace. It brings me close to the events that day. And I think people should know and remember what happened that day.
The story of September 11th, the story of the heroes of Flight 93 is one that resonates and everyone can relate to.
As a person, you saw this tragedy around you, but you also saw people helping people. You saw the firemen and the policemen do good things for other people.
It's tremendous to know that we have that potential within us to be able to come together.
That it was not just the building coming down or the tragedy, the people dying, but it's everyone else involved, because everybody else felt the same thing. Everybody felt sadness, but they also felt joy for the people that they saved. There's tragedies, but there's also goodness, there's also life.
We need each other. We share a common experience, and that common experience allows us to talk about our loved ones, to mourn their loss, to smile, to be human together.